Bigger also means a whole heck of a lot more waste, a lot more cost. I mean, it's a different set of problems, but I prefer the entrepreneurial problems, sleepless nights, much better than I do the bureaucratic sleepless nights. It's a whole different thing.
Hi, this is Rod Santomassimo with the Massimo Show. And today we have, let's just say the word is tremendous. A tremendous guest, the one and only Tracey Jones. And we're going to talk about a lot of things today. In fact, I'm going to let Tracey introduce herself a little bit, and then I'm going to dive deeper into it during the Massimo Show. Hi, this is Rod Santomassimo, and welcome to the Massimo Show. The objective of the Massimo Show is to share how you can maximize your personal, professional margin. That's right. Let's make more money in less time. Let's turn chaos into clarity, confusion into confidence, and income into real wealth. Along with sharing my insight on how I grew a multi-million-dollar professional business, we're going to bring you the expert advice from a variety of authors, consultants, and thought leaders who will provide the tools you need to maximize your own personal and professional margin. Welcome to the Massimo Show. Tracey, you are tremendous. You have a tremendous journey. You have a tremendous story. We can get on to that. But tell us a little about Tracey Jones, teenager. Start there. Go.
Wow. Well, I was raised by a father who was a motivational speaker, Charlie Tremendous Jones.
Tremendous Jones, yes.
So my upbringing was not normal. I would beg with him, Charles, please just be normal, to which he'd laugh and be like, not going to happen. Growing up with a motivational speaker for a father was a little bit a cross between boot camp and a sitcom. Okay. So it was always hysterical. My father, if you've ever heard him, just had this unbelievable, lovely sense of humor, not mean, but just everything was an experience and an adventure, but he was also incredibly driven. So everything that we did it had to have a purpose and you had to find joy in it. So consequentially, I grew up that work and fun were inextricably linked. It's like, you don't go on vacation. Work is a vacation. When you love what you do, it's all together. And work should be a joy. So I really watched him do this. And we would go on family vacations. He'd pack us all up in an RV and we'd go from speaking engagement to speaking engagement. And we'd be at both tables. And then at night we'd go play at the KOA campgrounds. And we'd sing songs. He drove 6 of us kids, suitcases, boxes of books in a Volkswagen camper, pop-up top, back in the late 60s from Camp Hill, Pennsylvania to Mexico City, Mexico, and back. And he was fearless. And we just had the best time sleeping on cactuses, drinking the water we shouldn't have drank, and just meeting people and watching him just interact with cultures and just touch people's lives. The other thing he did, Rod, when I was a teenager, he took all the TVs in the house and he locked them up in the attic, right? You would get arrested for that nowadays, okay? Wow. How can you do this to children? I was like, oh, I can't believe it. And there wasn't anything even bad on TV back in the early 70s, okay? Not that you could watch at your home. So he's like, you don't need this trash. He's like, trash in, trash out. And he goes, you can be working, getting a job, and I've worked since I've been 12. You can read, or you can be out doing athletics or working in the yard or something, but no TVs. And I remember thinking, this is really cruel and unusual punishment. I can't wait till I'm 18 and I'm out of here. But you know what? I'm so thankful he did that. We didn't need it that time of our lives. We needed to be studying, interacting with people, practicing our instruments, or anything other than sitting in front of the TV. So that was also kind of a zany thing that he did.
Oh, the word comes tremendous from that aspect. I couldn't imagine turning off the Wi-Fi at my house and my teenage rebuttal that I would have just for doing that alone, let alone take out the TVs and now the internet, obviously. So, Tracey, you had an amazing upbringing and one that was certainly, let's say, it was an environment of optimism and positivity. Would you say that's true?
It is, but it was also very much pragmatic. My father came from really difficult circumstances. Flunked out of school in the 8th grade, extreme poverty. His mother left multiple times and just really by all standards, really got the bad luck of the draw as far as nature and nurture. But when he was a young man, he met my mother. He got involved with the life insurance industry and he found Christ. And that was a trifecta. And after that, everything else was in the past. But he would take us when we were younger and we would sit under the tutelage of people like Ziglar, Ken Blanchard, Norman Vincent Peale. And I was just a little girl and I would sit there and look at these men and he would say, Tracey, you need to go out and earn your stripes. And what he meant was life is great, but it's what you make it. And so I didn't grow up with this illusion of, oh, I just want to be the daughter of somebody famous and just, it's all going to come to me. These men worked hard. And the reason men and women are listening to these men and women is because they are bringing value to the table and their stories are triumphant. It was never easy. So even though it was very upbeat and optimistic, he really taught me, it's a leadership term called self-efficacy, which is resiliency, tenacity, your adaptive capacity. And he let me know my first lesson in life was, it doesn't matter what life throws at you, it's how you respond to it. And I am just so thankful for that. So yeah, it was incredibly positive, but it wasn't this Pollyanna, life's never going to slap you in the face. He was very pragmatic about, it's going to be tough. And every time you do the right thing, somebody's going to take you out at the knees. That does not matter. You stay focused and have the right support network and the right books, and you'll get there.
Okay, so you mentioned the trifecta. He found Christ, he found your mother, and life insurance, which I generally don't see in the trifecta, but that's okay. So
He loved it.
That was it. But you were pragmatic, you're born to be pragmatic, optimistic, but somehow you found yourself actually in the Air Force. So tell me how you went from that childhood to serving our country. Thank you, and we're honored, to being in the Air Force. How'd you get there? What was that journey like? I
am my father's daughter, but he is so much of an emotive salesperson. I am an engineer by trade. I'm way more analytical and process oriented. So I was at school in New York at Houghton College, a Wesleyan school, and my father had spoke at New Mexico Military Institute in Roswell, New Mexico. This is before the aliens were around, so it was okay. And he came back.
Okay, we write that clear. Before the aliens arrived, you were in Roswell. Okay, continue.
He came back and he said, Tracey, he had a flyer from there, and he laid it on the table and he goes, Tracey, these kids are really going to make something out of their lives. Mimi is a Army, high school, and junior college, like VMI or some of the other military prep schools. They're really going to make something with their lives. And then he kind of did the old challenge of, I'm not sure if you could make this. Okay, now, I'm going to say this to parents. If you have children that respond to that in a positive way, I was always up for the, you think I can't? When you say I can, I can. That doesn't always work. They take that personally. Like he told me to sell books door to door with Southwestern growing up. And I'm like, whatever you say you think I can't do, I'm going to do. And he did it in an affirming way, not a destructive way. So I went down there and I got my associate's degree from NEMI. And they said, where do you want to go next? Do you want to go to West Point or Annapolis? Because it was an Army school. I said, I know where they're from. They're from the East, but I had fallen in love with New Mexico. Oh, talk about land of enchantment. And I was like, this is so gorgeous. And we traveled out west a lot growing up. They said, well, there's another place. It's called the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. And I'm like, let's do that. So it was just, I'm a middle child and I'm always very much, you know what, when the door opens, I'm not sure, but I'm at least going to try it. I fear regret more than failure. So I was going to give it a shot. I don't ever want to miss the opportunity. I can handle if I can't cut the mustard, but I'm not going to ever sit there and go, I wish I would have tried that. So I went into the Air Force Academy and I got an appointment there and showed up a couple weeks later, and just, it was an incredible experience. So graduated from the Air Force Academy as lieutenant and got trained in working on fighter jets, the F-15s and F-16s. And off I went into the wild blue yonder. It was just such a blessing to serve. So I was in 88 to 2000, first Gulf War, Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Bosnian War, and just an incredible experience.
Oh, incredible. And we're all honored for your service. And that's fantastic. So here you are with an incredible upbringing with your father, right? And your mother, and life insurance, and Christ, obviously. Now you have an incredible career path with the Air Force, but there's something more for you. There's something you're driving you, I'm assuming, at this point in time to do something else. Is that fair to say? Why'd you leave the force, and what was it that was maybe driving you to do so?
Well, I'm going to tell you this, and your audience will know this. Every organization has bureaucratic elements, okay? And that means bloat, waste, nepotism, cronyism. And so even the military, which is a beautiful thing, even the church even the family, there's certain aspects of it that you get, although I'm a process girl, I realized I also had the entrepreneurial seed in me. So I'd look at stuff and I'd be like, why are we doing this? Why does this take so long? Why are these bad people allowed to stay in an organization when they're not really all in? And that is not a bureaucratic mindset, okay? Mm-hmm. So I love the military, but I only ever planned to do 5 years and pay my education back. So here I am at the year 12 point, and I thought, you know what? You get this calling from and a calling to in life. And I always tell people, when you pivot, don't pivot on pain, pivot on purpose. And If you pivot on pain, which I've done many times, that still works out because God, in the end, it all works out. It all comes out in the wash. But I just had this feeling like, you know what? I grew up with entrepreneurs. My father was an entrepreneur, and someday I would love to run my own thing. And my father always told me, Tracey, and I after the military, I went into high tech. I went into defense contracting. I went into all kinds of things. And you go through the honeymoon period, Rod, where you're like, this is the greatest job in the world. I love these people. And somewhere within the 6-month and 1-year period, you realize this is the same crap that I dealt with at the previous organization. And these people were even worse than the people that I didn't like before. And I would say to my dad, Dad, I thought this was the right industry. I thought this was the right leader. And he said to me, Tracey, you have 2 choices in life. You can either work for yourself or you can work for somebody else. As long as you work for somebody else, this is always going to happen. And he would tell me, like, one of his little life-changing classics is, Tracey, don't quit a job because you hate the people. You're going to hate them wherever you go. Just stay with the people you know so you can hate it. And you know what? There was an element of truth in that. But his point was, until you own your business, you're not going to really feel like you own the business. And I fought that, like 23 years. I'm like, he's wrong. He's wrong. He's a sales guy. He wasn't in the right industries. And you know what? He was absolutely right, Rod.
Yeah. My dad was one of my biggest mentors. In fact, my biggest mentor. He would always say, and he worked for himself, he would say, Rod, you'll never be happier or potentially more successful and wealthier until you really understand to work for yourself. And yeah, he was absolutely correct. And I fought him on it. I did the big company, big 6, big consultings, all those things.
Bigger is better. Bigger also means a whole heck of a lot more waste, a lot more cost. I mean, it's a different set of problems, but I prefer the entrepreneurial problems, sleepless nights, much better than I do the bureaucratic sleepless nights. It's a whole different thing.
I couldn't agree more. But look, folks, we're going to take a quick break, get back with Tracey Jones. We're going to talk about a couple of things when you come back. One is the journey she's taking. Then we're talking a little about her new project called Spark as well. We're excited about that one, get into Spark. But hold on, a lot to come, a lot of value, a lot of lessons you all need to start applying right away when we get back here with one and only Tracey Jones. Hi, this is Rod Santomassimo, president and founder of the Massimo Group. And did you know that for over the past 11 plus years, we've worked with thousands of independent contractors, solopreneurs, and small business owners just like you in repositioning their and or their team's efforts so they can build the personal, professional practice they've always dreamed of. We provide coaching programs for all levels of experience, earnings, and yes, success. So if you're finally ready to get off that transaction treadmill and chasing deals that are growing nowhere and start building the personal, professional business and life consisting of greater wealth and more time, well, check us out at Massimo.coach. That's Massimo.coach. Hey, this is Rod Santomassimo, and welcome back to the Massimo Show and our next session with Tracey Jones, tremendous Tracey Jones. In fact, wow, think about what she shared so far about the upbringing she had, going across the country in the RV with her dad, being with the greatest motivational speakers of our time, like Zig Ziglar. Then, of course, going to the Air Force, serving our country for 12 years, where she served, and now recognizing what? The entrepreneurial life is a life for her. So let's get to that entrepreneurial life. Tracey, welcome back to the Massimo Show.
Thank you, Rod.
Let's get right into it. So you leave the Air Force. Your dad has always said you kind of work for yourself. So what were some of the ventures you set out to do? And tell us about that journey.
After getting out of the military, I went into high tech. I moved to Austin, Texas, and that was cool because I wanted to see, again, I wanted to work at a Fortune 100 company because, right, that's where it's at. That's where the great leadership is. That's where it's at. And so went there for a while, and Austin is just an absolutely fabulous town. And I love the industry. But again, after a couple of years, you realize what? People are people, problems are problems. Processes are processes, different acronyms, but the same stuff, different day kind of thing. I'll say it in a nice cleaned up way because we're on the air. So anyhow, did that for 5 years and then got the urge again, okay, something else. I got to do something else. I got to do something else. And so I moved to St. Louis and I worked in defense contracting. right? Now I get to blend my Fortune 100 edge with my love for the military, right?
Mm-hmm.
Surely this is going to be the pairing that I've been searching for my whole life. That was great, did that for a while. And again, about 2 years into it, I'm like, the blush comes off the rose because you're dealing with the same people, the same problems, the same processes, it is what it is. And so then my father's health was failing in 2008 and he departed for heaven. And before he left this earth and turned in his, as I say, his earthly passport for his heavenly one, I came back from St. Louis, Missouri every weekend and just spent time with him. And we hadn't really talked about me coming back to do the business, but I knew after 23 years of trying other things, I didn't know what was going to work, but I knew what wasn't going to work. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't going to find another industry or another country or another set of acronyms. This was it. I was like, at 45, I was like, am I really making a difference? I'm earning a great salary, but in the grand scheme of things, am I really changing the world? And I thought, no, not in the way that I want to do it. So his health was failing. And I said, Dad, it's time. I'm going to come back and I'm going to run the business. And this is our whole succession plan. This is it. He squeezed my hand and he whispered in my ear because he didn't have his voice anymore. He says, Tracey, that's wonderful. He goes, I know you'll take it places I never did. And 2 days later, he was in heaven. So I tell people, it doesn't have to be this long drawn out thing. And in that moment, Rod, I kept waiting for him to say, do you want to come back and run the business? And he never asked me. And I thought, that's not cool, Dad. But you know what? In the end, I thought, what daughter would say no to her father on his deathbed asking? And he knew if this wasn't my decision, when I came back and found out, guess what? It's the same people, the same problem, the same processes that I would go, why did I promise my father that I would do this? It had to be my decision. And it was. And I'm eternally grateful for that. So there I was. So for the listeners, losing your father, especially losing any hero in your life, is gut-wrenching. And it's hard because this is the man that gave me my self-esteem and taught me everything. And so how do you keep on going from that? And so I tell people, sooner or later, the baton has to get passed. And that's when we have to step up. And he's still here. He's just on a really long business trip. And, so if you're going through hardship, if you just lost somebody, the best thing that you can do to honor their legacy is to pick up that baton. You grieve and you get out of it and you get right back to work. And that's what's really kept me going.
First of all, beautiful story. Second, I could absolutely relate. I lost my dad a couple of years ago, which is shocking. One day he was here and one day he was gone. Say that it was shocking. But yeah, when you lose someone, and you're right, what you can do is go ahead and be the best you can possibly be to reflect on that person and what they shared with you. So since we both don't need to cry during the show, we're gonna move.
No, I know. I got a
little. So, what is the business, though? I mean, your father was a motivational speaker, so all of a sudden you have to become a motivational speaker. Is that really so? For our audience, what is the business?
I'm a project manager. I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm not a writer. I like to write. I mean, I'm gifted at writing. So what he did several different things. And if you knew my father, you know this. And yes, we're supposed to stay focused, but he was a publisher. So he felt everybody had a book and you ought to have a book. And your message, they may not get to meet you face to face, but a book lives on. Look at the Bible, the #1 book of all time. I didn't get to meet Jesus, but I get to meet him through his book. So he was a bookaholic. He was a book pusher, so a publisher. Yes, he was an unbelievable speaker, but he also would do book distribution for companies that wanted to do book of the month. And so had hundreds of thousands of books coming through to encourage companies and organizations to get their employees on a recurring reading program. So those are all the things that we are still doing. And I always laugh when I say motivational speaking because I'm much more pragmatic. You know what? Leadership is tough. I'm going to give you the tactics and the tools to do it. And so that is really what the business is. Tremendous Leadership. It was Executive Books. And I came back and I rebranded to Tremendous Life Books because books just aren't for executives only. Back in his day, personal development crosses every boundary. If you're a person, you should and want and desire to be developed. And so we went to Tremendous Life Books, and now we're doing more leadership training and speaking, and now it's Tremendous Leadership. Speaking, writing, getting people hooked on books, sharing transformative powers of books, all that stuff.
Okay, so take me through a typical day for Tracey Jones. Now, there's nothing typical based on what you told me is going to happen this week. I'm the entrepreneur running the business that you run now. What does that look like? I mean, are you on the road a lot? Are you a virtual team? I mean, people are wondering, also entrepreneurs listening to this going, how does she do it? What's the support team look like? How does she market? Let's go to the rudimentary. There's the raw side of this. I get that. It's important. But let's get to the fundamental, pragmatic side. So how do you, first of all, sell? How do you sell yourself? How do you sell your business?
First of all, for the viewers and listeners, I am as much on this journey as you as everybody else. And I remind people, publishing a book is easy. Getting people to open up their wallets and buy it is where the magic happens. Because everybody's like, I published it. And it's that stupid Field of Dreams. If you publish it, people will buy. False. If you get your agent's license, people will buy. False. It's the hardest thing in the world. Any given day, like this morning, I was up for a Zoom call. After this, I have dance lessons for my first dance at the wedding. Last week, I was at an elementary school with my rescue dogs because I write children's books too on leadership development. Wednesday night, I'm going to be in a prison doing prison ministry where we have book reading clubs. I've got manuscripts to read. Thank God I just finished my PhD, so I'm not going to be doing schoolwork kind of thing. But I would say the number one thing we've been learning is repeat and referrals. Everybody wants to buy these lists or go out and find these new clients. And if we can just ask for referrals. One of my favorite books is Michael Gerber's The E-Myth Revisited.
Love it.
It's right here too.
Yeah.
And you work on the business, not in the business. And this is so hard for me because I'm an operations person. And I really have to look at this book and say, Tracey, the entrepreneur has to talk about wondering, what can we do? A lot of this is you can't do it on your own. Even if you have the greatest vision, if God came down from the mountain and said, Rod, do this, and you are persistent as all get out, you have to have the advocates, resources, and knowledge to make it happen. You have to know which marketers are worth investing in. You have to know, should you do time on social media, or is this a complete time suck of my resources? And you have to know what books you need to read, because you know what? You have to stay self-motivated, because there are a lot of times when I get up and say, should I take all the tremendous board pieces and just put them in the box and just wrap it up? So there's intrinsic motivation. And that's why I'm always out connecting with people. I need to know, what are you doing to grow your business? But also remember, that's their business. Your business is going to have your own very unique aspects of it and your unique purpose and singularity. What works for everybody else may not necessarily work for you. You'll get the old, we'll do the Google AdWords. And I'm like, listen, guys, I'm not selling alcohol, vacations, or diamonds on Facebook. I'm selling books. That's a whole different thing. Because somebody says, I'm doing this. You know, it's the old, if you see the bandwagon, it's in front of you, it's probably too late. So, a lot of people are doing virtual things. I'm working to get more online podcasts and stuff like that. Working to do more events, but it's a work in process, Rod.
I heard a lot there, so I'm going to break it down a little bit for the audience. First of all, repeat referrals, absolutely. As my audience knows, Tracey, when I speak across the country and I ask folks how many past clients they have, I'm shocked how they raise their hand. And they go, yeah, I have past clients, right? And in our world, a past client is spelled PASSED, which basically means they're dead to you because you treat them as someone that you used to work with. Our vernacular at Massimo, and we share with everyone, is no one has past clients. We all have inactive clients. They're our clients, currently not active. Don't touch them. They're mine, right? To our competition. But that's a mindset. It absolutely is. It's a mindset, and it's also an activity of how you engage and increase those referrals and those relationships for more business. So I agree with you 1,000%. I did notice, though, you said, I asked you about how you delegate. We also agree with you 100%. You have to delegate other responsibilities and build your team. And you use the term, I don't know if this is purposeful or not, but I'm wondering, it has to be. You said, I heard this, you said, advocates, resources, and knowledge, which I think smells ARC. So
Broad.
A support team around you, this ARC. So talk about the ARC. My team, we have 40 folks within the Massimo organization. Most of those are our coaches across North America, but a team of 10, sales, finance, operations, marketing, some full-time employees, many independent contractors, many. So how about your organization? How big is it? And what's that composition look like?
Absolutely. We started out larger and have since really pared down. Industries change, and the publishing and speaking industry has really radically changed. And that's okay. When you're getting pruned, I sold a huge piece of real estate 4 years ago. And I thought, oh my gosh, I killed the business. I didn't kill the business. I sold a facility. And everything I do can be now print on demand, virtual. We're sitting here talking like I didn't even have to travel to speak. So you have to get your mind on what the business is going to look like 10 years from now and skate to where the puck is going, because the old Wayne Gretzky quote, it's already slipped past you. So right now I have just one other full-time employee. The E-Myth, we have the entrepreneur, the manager, and the technician. So we are out on the hunt for a technician, okay? So, but I'm going to tell you, 11 years of bringing people in and trying to find that right person. So I think there is something really serendipitous about finding somebody to join your team, because you can find a million people out there, okay? But you have to find people that have possessed two skills. One, they're critical thinkers, not critical spirit, that they're good critical thinkers. In other words, they're going to look at you, Rod, and say, hey, Rod, have you thought about this? They're going to support you, but they're going to be looking at, oh my gosh, those inactive customers. Let me come up with a marketing plan about how to drip out until we get from a no to a yes, because we all know no is just a not yet. And it takes 15 touch points before somebody converts over. So somebody to process and do all that stuff. The second thing that you need to really make sure that you have, in addition to critical thinking, is that they're all in, that they want the success of the Massimo Group as much, if not even more than you do. Because otherwise you're going to get employees on your team that are transactional. So you want to find team members. So I finally, after 11 years of being back, found this person 6 months ago. And so now we're in the process of growing, and be very intentional about growing. Only grow and bring somebody in when you absolutely need to, because otherwise you're going to take your time trying to keep them busy or find things for them to do. I've done it so many times. I've stopped looking and I've let God bring that person to me, and I'm having much better success. But we have a ton of contractors too. And I love independent contractors, because everybody has their freedom to do what they want. And that's a beautiful thing.
For those out there listening, if you don't leverage other folks by now, number one, you're not going to grow. You're not. But contracting is an incredible tool, resource for us all to use. So look, well, we're going to break this down a little more, but we got to get to the spark in Tracey's life, Tracey, can you sit around for a few more minutes?
Absolutely.
We're going to have a bonus section. Tracey told me she would have great content, and she's right. So we're going for the bonus section of the Massimo Show this time. So stay tuned. Be right back. We're talking about the spark, what that means, and get a little personal with Tracey, some things she's doing this week that are pretty tremendous on their own. So we'll be right back with the Massimo Show. Hey, this is Rod Santomassimo, and we always tell our coaching clients that knowing isn't doing. That's right. Don't kid yourself. In fact, in my new book, Don't Kid Yourself, Knowing Isn't Doing, Build the Business and Life You Desire, I lay out many of our Massimo methods that we share with our clients to help them transform their lives. My new book, Knowing Isn't Doing, is going through a soft launch that will happen in March of 2020, and then a big national launch in September 2020. For more information, check out knowingisn'tdoing.com. Hey, this is Rod, and welcome back to the Massimo Show with the one and only tremendous Tracey Jones. We're talking about spark. Let me get a little personal now. Tracey, this is actually, the time of this recording, this is a pretty big week for you, is it not?
It is one of the biggest weeks of my life.
Biggest weeks of your life. So what happened last week and what's happening next week? Where are we in your life?
2019 was a really difficult year. I lost my mother. She's at home with my father and brother now. Had some other setbacks, but I came out of the 4-year wilderness and into the land of Canaan, came out of Egypt and into Canaan, wrapping up the end of last year. So December 13th, a month ago, I graduated with my PhD, my earned PhD, a goal of mine since I was a child in leadership. So now I'm a doctor. In 6 days, I'm going to be a Mrs. So I'm getting married. People are like, are you serious? I mean, not that I'm unmarriable, but I'm just really used to doing my own thing. So people are like, are you kidding me? And this guy's really got to have it together. And I'm like, he's got it together.
We went from Miss Jones to Dr. Jones to Mrs. Jones. Going forward now, for the rest of this podcast, I will call you Tracey, but what is the surname? Is it Mrs.? Mrs. something else, obviously, but maybe it's not. It's going to be Mrs. something else?
It's going to be Mrs. Jones, but traveling Mrs. Wheeler. We're still trying to iron all this out.
Okay, I got it.
But I'm going to be Tracey Jones Wheeler.
More importantly, you are Dr. Jones.
You're right.
You're Dr. Jones. I'm just going to call you Indiana. How's that?
Listen, I got the whole get up and my next podcast. I got the hat. I got the whip. I learned to crack a whip. Yep, we're having a Dr. Jones party.
And by the way, for those listening who don't know what the heck Tracey and I are talking about, you need to Google Indiana Jones.
I got the whole get up. Yep.
Okay, let's talk about the next big thing. Everything needs a spark, a catalyst to move forward. And based on our research, I saw you have a project that you really, the whole concept is spark. Can we talk about that concept, the book? It's funny, a book publisher who your life is books. So yeah, you wrote a lot of books and now this latest project, Spark. Tell us about that.
It is an offshoot of my doctoral research. So in my research, I hit the trifecta, the intersection of a crisis event, personal motivation, and followership. These are the three things. I tell the people that complain about their boss, if you want a better leader, be a better follower. Okay, if you want a better husband, be a better wife. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Leadership is a dance. And just like you talked about your business, we can't do it on our own. So I'm interviewing these organizations that went through a failed merger, a merger that went south, something that will probably happen in almost all of our lives. Okay, a merger which looks so beautiful on paper, right? Always it looks good on paper. And then you get people involved. And people's means egos and personality. So it went south pretty quick. So I got to interview all these people and say, and they had come through it successfully, but I got to pick their brains and say, what was scary about it? What was not? Why did some of you think it was the end of the world and others of you were excited about it? Why did some of you become entrenched and others of you become excited? And within 5 minutes of me sitting down to interview people, I could tell which side of the fence they were on. And I realized halfway through these interviews, after studying leadership my whole life, there really is no such thing as leadership. It's all personality. You know, as good as you are and as much as you can help people, if that other person has an attitude, a chip on their shoulder, what psychologists call an erotic personality, where they just are self-oriented, I call them SOBs, self-oriented behaviors. There's nothing I can do or promise you to make you smile and come on my team. So this book is it's called Spark, Igniting the Greatness Within. We all have the God seed in us, whether you believe it or not. Okay, there is something unique about human beings. Okay, we can achieve goals. We can do the wonders of the world. We can have the age of enlightenment. We can create companies like this. We can create wealth and love and all these other things. So why is it that some of us achieve greatness and others of us don't? And so SPARK is an acronym, S-P-A-R-K. S is for singularity. So in my research, these people where their singular focus after the merger was on themselves and what was in it for them versus the other people that looked at what was in it for the health of the organization. Okay, where you put your focus, and you can only focus on one thing at a time. And if you have people that only focus on themselves, they're never going to be all in. P is for persistence, because you know as well as I do, it's your habits that will determine your success. Okay, and a lot of people are like, oh, it's all about passion. Passion fizzles after a couple weeks or a couple months. Persistence means no matter what, you're going to stay the course. And that is the intrinsic stuff. Okay, that's up to me to bring the singularity and the persistence. But externally, I need three other things. The advocates. Those are your cheerleaders. Those are the people, and Henry Cloud calls them quadrant 4 relationships. These are the people that want and it's a book called The Power of the Other. These are the people that want your success more than you want it, that are going to call you on your nonsense, that are going to sit there and lift you up, that are going to network with you, pray for you, pour into you, and advise you. R is, again, the resources. No matter how great I am, if I don't have the website or the marketing or whatever to get the word out to people, if I don't have the CRM database to track my clients, if I don't have the right marketing tools, the right people, you can't get it right without the right people. It's not going to happen. And then lastly, K is knowledge. Leadership is lifelong learning. And the minute you think you know it all, geez, I just finished my PhD at 56, okay? And I feel like, I'm just starting. I'm just figuring it all out. I can't believe it. And my dad always said that. He's like, Tracey, everybody's wet behind the ears until they're 55. You know what? He's right. Okay. There's so much I didn't know. And so just stay in the books and stay learning, because the environment changes and we change every day. We're the next best version of ourselves. So what we had in our lives yesterday, there may be something different we need in our lives in the future. Ecclesiastes talks about there's a season for everything. So I am constantly looking at the business and saying, you know what? There are no sacred cows. What worked 4 years ago may not work today. And the only reason I know that is by staying around smart people and hanging around great books. My father always said that you're going to be the same person 5 years from now, except for two things: the people you meet and the books you read. So when I look at people that are in a rut or it's just not happening for me, I'll say, who are you meeting and hanging out with and what are you reading? And if they say nada or nothing, I'm like, friend, you're already dead. You're just not stinking because you're not in the ground yet.
I love the acronym. Singularity, persistent, advocate, resource, knowledge. That's the spark.
It's metacognition. Every day you go through this cycle, and that's living life. You never get it all figured out. Maybe you can sit back and kick your feet up for 5 seconds, but put them right back on the ground and get back to running, okay? Because somebody's going to be nipping at pieces of your business. You're going to have an employee issue erupt. Somebody's going to hack your website. Somebody's going to put some crap about you online from an interview you did. Who knows? But that's okay. It's all part of the game, all part of the game.
Actually, Tracey, right before we start this interview, my wife walked into the office and she asked me a question. And actually, we're at definitely not a crossroads. We're at the next step, which is great for us. Our next step as far as our business. And I'm 56 as well, by the way. So from our business, we're in the next step of where we're taking the next journey for Massimo. And now there's a next level for us, better version of ourselves. Thank you.
Yeah. You got two choices in life: evolve or evacuate. There is no status quo. Okay. The minute we're born, our death clocks start. After we clean, dust starts coming. Once money is printed, inflation eats it away. You can't just sit in life. You have to be moving forward. That's what makes life worth living. And we do it with the support of other people. That's where when it's time for us to punch out, we can look back and go, it was incredible. And the best is yet to come.
God bless you. You're absolutely correct. Let's talk about something here if we can, because I'm pumped. Audience is pumped. You talked about looking at things 10 years from now. So your dad's advice, which I agree with, by the way, and I agree with everyone should understand, it's who we hang out with, even in high school, even when I'm 56, who I choose to hang out with, to the books I read. But today, is it also the podcasts I listen to, the vlogs I watch? Is that all part of it?
Absolutely. And I tell people, they're like, should I read or not? You do whatever you want. Some of us are auditory learners. Some of us are visual learners. I have to read it because the way my mind runs, if I'm listening, I don't hear it. And that's why when I sit at a speaking engagement, I have 10 pages of notes, because the research does say that when you write down what you hear, twice as likely to remember it. Some of us are kinesthetic learners. We have to be doing. I don't care if it's a TED Talk. I don't care if you're listening to scripture said on TV. I don't care if you're listening to a podcast. It doesn't matter. You think about the noise that's coming into your head. And this is why it's so hard for us to get that first singularity. You have to be quiet. And if you're not Sabbathing at least once a week, if you're not carving out at least 12 to 24 hours to turn everything off and just listen. Remember, if the God seed is in you, you're not God, but the God seed is in you. We need to shut up and be still and quiet and listen. And then you'll hear what you're supposed to do next. So I really encourage people to do that too. So take the input, but then really how you process it is your own unique journey and vision. And you'll only know that if you get quiet and alone from time to time.
That's absolutely awesome, Tracey, or Dr. Jones, as we'll say right now. Absolutely awesome. So look, we talk about some quiet time. We talk about working on the business. They're correlated. You went full alien on me, from going from Roswell, New Mexico to Baby Yoda all in one sentence. You did it all there.
My bridal shower cake was Princess Leia, if you look at my Facebook page. And I was like, oh my God. My fiance has never even seen any of the Star Wars, so I know it's love. Because typically that would be like one of my first date questions, Star Wars or Star Trek. And if you answered wrong, you're dead to me.
And that is what we mean by past clients. You're dead to me. So that's awesome. So people want more tremendous Tracey Jones, Dr. Jones, Mrs. Jones Wheeler. They want it all. They want more of you. How do people get more access to you?
Come to the website, first of all, tremendousleadership.com. Or if you have any of our old books, executive books, Tremendous Life books, or Tremendous Leadership. They all come to the same mothership, okay? Our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, all that stuff is on there. You can email me directly. Our phone number, email, we answer. This is the global headquarters here in Boiling Springs, Pennsylvania. It's the nexus of the universe. And you reach out to me, and I promise you within 24 hours, you will hear from us. And we have free webinars on our website, great books, love to publish with you, just to connect with you. And sign up for our e-blast. We send out 1 or 2 a month about where we're going to be next, blogging, and you get 3 free PDFs of these wonderful little life-changing classics. great to hand out to your clients too. You say, I can't read a book. Yeah, you can. This one will take you half an hour. And then you can say, oh, we've got 31 of these. Acres Diamonds, books are tremendous, As a Man Thinketh. So if you're not into reading, just take 15 minutes a day. And these are wonderful little gems. This one is our bestseller now. And it says that the only difference between success and a failure is that a success has made a habit out of doing the things that failure doesn't want to do. That's it. That's persistence. Okay. So for you guys trying to grow that business, it's about growing the pipeline, cold calling, right? Past clients are not dead clients. It's all those habits. And so you get on our website, we've got tremendous stuff, all kinds of things.
It is. And by the way, folks, just don't think about yourself. You got to go to the website. There are resources there for your kids, regardless of their age. I mean, whether it be teenagers or young adolescents, there are kids out there that need to read these books and get like, just be like Tracey was when she was growing up, surrounded with the right mental attitude. And yeah, you all need to, according to Tracey, we're going to throw out all our electronic devices and no more Wi-Fi and put them in the attic.
You will live. Believe it or not, you will not die. I promise you that.
You will not die. I don't know if my 20-year-old daughter would agree with you, but I think you're probably right. Tracey, you have been absolutely tremendous. You win. You are the content queen. You shed a lot of high-value things and ideas. We're going to get them out to the audience. So I can't thank you enough. We wish you the very best. Spark is going to happen for you. And next week is going to be a big day for you in your life, your next step and next journey. God bless you. And thank you so much for joining the Massimo Show.
God bless you, Rod. Thank you. Everybody have a tremendous year too.
Okay, Tracey, all my best. Take care. I want to thank you for listening to this version of the Massimo Show. And please, please go out and share this with your friends, your colleagues. Heck, share it with your dog. Just share it. And more importantly, just give me some feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. We all grow from understanding what our audience wants to hear. So until next time, this is Rod Santomassimo with the Massimo Show. Hi, this is Rod Santomassimo, president and founder of the Massimo Group. And did you know that for over the past 11 plus years, we've worked with thousands of independent contractors, solopreneurs, and small business owners just like you in repositioning their and/or their team's efforts so they can build the personal, professional practice they've always dreamed of. We provide coaching programs for all levels of experience, earnings, and yes, success. So if you're finally ready to get off that transaction treadmill and chasing deals that are growing nowhere and start building the personal, professional business and life consisting of greater wealth and more time, well, check us out at massimo.coach. That's MASSIMO.coach.